Hey, what's up? This is Matt, the bassist from therisendread. I'm doing a live interview on Friday, the 28th of January. At 8 GMT with the guys at dmetalgalaxy. See you there.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Metal Galaxy.
Hello,
Tonight we have the second guest of our Heavy Goes On and On program, where we do album reviews and reviews working with various labels. So today it will be our hottest interview with the local extreme metal band, the therisendread, where we will unpeel the layers of Nighthawk album, which was released today. So guys, can you describe yourself and the band in one sentence?
I'd say we're kind of a mixture between almost thrash, death, tiny bit of doom, a little bit of stoner, and we basically just do what Will tells us because he knows best.
That's interesting. But Matt, you were telling us that it's like stoner influences, so can you give an example where we can hear stoner?
Kind of stoner would be more along some of the breakdowns would be very doom, very kind of stoner kind of metal. Kind of building up to the breakdowns and the likes of Deceiver, Fallen.
Great. So I'm giving now towards to William so he can introduce himself and maybe add something to the band.
Yeah, so I think that the therisendread is a mix of our influences. So Matt's more from the new metal background. I have death metal. I used to have death metal bands, and I love heavy metal as well. So you see a lot of harmonies, catchy riffs. That's where I come from. But I'd say the main influences that we have, it's Parkway Drive, Limb of God, In Flames, on that kind of genre. I don't know where we would mix, where we would be between the kind of styles. Some people find, some people listen to the album. We got some feedback that it sounded a bit thrash metal, thrash core. I'm happy with the album, and then that's if people want to call whatever style we are, we don't mind.
Yeah, I would say sometimes there is some thrash elements, a bit of Anthrax, a bit of Metallica maybe even, but also like Pantera.
I think it's definitely closer to Pantera than the likes of Metallica.
Definitely Marco would be happy to.
Yeah, Marco would be
to hear that.
Yeah,
Marco would be a big Pantera fan.
Cool. So, guys, tell us a bit of your background in music. Like, when did you start to listen to metal, and what was your influences? We start with Will.
I started listening to metal when I was probably, 13 years old. From the beginning, with the guys in the school, we wanted to have a band. No one knew how to play anything. I went with the guitar. I remember that's because of my friends that's where I used to listen to kind of classic rock, a bit of heavy metal. But then with my friends at school, they already had influences for so they came to, oh, this is Morbid the Angel, this is Cannibal Corpse. I was like, yeah, that's cool. And then we wanted to have a death metal band, which we never had. But I started playing guitar. Then I joined death thrash band when I was 17, and I played with them into my 21st into.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a long break after I left the band. But back then we played a lot. We did a bit of tour in Brazil. Playing live, that's only with that band and with therisendread. I tried to work with other bands after, but we never ended up playing live or even recording anything.
Okay.
That's I love a lot of heavy metal. I love it of classic kind of accept Dio. Those
Very
kind
good.
of bands I like. I like a lot. My favorite band is Blind Guardian.
Oh,
Nice.
okay, nice.
And when it comes to death metal, that's I stick with the old one mostly with the Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel, Dayside. They are the bands that I used to listen when I was on my yeah, when I was 17. when I was like 17, the band I used to play, we used to cover one side song. But yeah, that's kind of my background with the metal.
Okay, cool, Will. And you, Matt? Tell me your story.
I was quite lucky. My dad was a rocker, so he was a rocker in the 80s. So I basically grew up listening to Thin Lizzy, AC/DC, Whitesnake, Rainbow, a lot of Dio, and a lot of Phil Lynott. And then when I was about 12, maybe 13, I got a snowboarding video game on my PSP, and that had songs by the Scorpions, Iron Maiden, as well as some kind of like pop punk songs, like some Billy Talent and stuff like that. So this was around 15, 16 years ago when YouTube was kind of starting to become a popular thing.
Okay.
So went onto YouTube, started listening to the Scorpions, and then Whitesnake would show up, and then after Whitesnake it could be Maiden, and then from Maiden it could get heavier and heavier and heavier until I was 14, and I heard Slipknot for the first time. I heard People Equal Shit for the first time, and from that day I've just hooked on it, absolutely hooked on it. That progressed more to Coal Chamber and Mudvayne, Drowning Pool, those kind of bands would have been who I listened to an awful lot of until I turned about 15, and a friend of mine was listening to Bowling for Soup, the pop punk bands, 1985 and all that song, and they're my favorite band.
Okay.
So going from hardcore new metal to happy, everybody feel good pop punk music. So
very mixed, very mixed.
Very mixed. Like even
like
can't really see it, but over in the corner there, I actually have like a signed film reel from Girl All the Bad Guys Want, their music video from when they recorded it on film. So Bowling for Soup would probably be my favorite band, even though I love death metal and new metal and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
And he's our bassist.
Nice.
So Nighthawk is a concept album with mental illnesses as the main theme. If I may ask, what was the drive to write such an album? And if I may ask as well, which particular illness, historical figure you liked to explore in this album?
Right, so kind of with the concept behind it, mental health is a big thing kind of within the band. I myself suffer with clinical depression and social anxiety, so I've suffered terrible with panic attacks for years. So being able to explore that through music is definitely both therapeutic and almost lifts the stigma around mental health. So I would be very open and honest about how I would be feeling, that I feel like a lot of people wouldn't be. Marco, our singer, suffered sleep paralysis. So that's where the album name actually came from, was the sleep paralysis demon that he's seen since he was a kid.
Yeah, that's the whole idea with the album talking about mental illness was, we start with the name of the band. That's the therisendread. So that's how we came up what we wanted to talk about at the beginning. So that's how we came up with the name. So that was Column brought the name. But you remember we were in a call trying to figure out what would be the best name. And then the whole mental illness is been in all tracks since the EP. So all the EPs, we have 3 tracks, which we re-recorded 2 of them, but they're all about some type of mental illness, and we just carry out that the album. In all tracks from the EP into the album, we mention the Night Hag in each lyric, and then that's why we decided to put Night Hag as the last track of the album, because it ties up all together. It's specific about sleep paralysis. And regarding to the specific person that we talk in the album, Why Night is one of the tracks that we talk about Jing Jones. That's the I'm not sure if you guys are, don't know if you guys are aware, but it's regarding to the suicide, mass suicide in South America. I can't remember the name of the country. So he was the guy behind of that.
Okay.
And Lazaretto is about a doctor that he used to. They used to send people to, I think it's 3 islands in Italy, that they supposed to go there to kind of treat them, but the doctor was making some experiments and everyone was dying and just living there in the island. As far as I'm aware,
it's suspected that that's where lobotomies were actually invented.
Yeah. So Lazaretto is a name of the island.
Okay.
In Italy, and I can't remember if you have another one on top of my head, that's a specific figure, but that's as far as I remember, that's what it is.
9.
Yeah, but Coward's 9 is not specific.
It's specific figure.
Specific.
It's more about
it's just
the
just
tragedy
about
around mass shootings.
Yeah. So that's Coward's 9 is the 9 is because of the 9mm. So it's a Coward's 9 is because the guy behind the gun, it's a coward, and then that's why we call the track Coward's 9. That's as far as I remember. That's specifically figured. That's what we have. Might be missing something, but that's as far as I can't remember. I don't write the lyrics. It's Marco the guy, but yeah, that's what I remember.
That's interesting, guys. Thank you for sharing this. It gives like an interesting like angle this band, and I think the extreme metal elements really fitting in, as this is like a bit therapeutic as well. So we talked about this, and you told us a bit background of the Lazaret and other songs, but I wonder, is there one song in particular you like to explore the most? Write about it, about the illness or the figure?
Well, most of the lyrics are done by Marco, so he would be the one that would kind of bring 99% of the lyrics, and him and Cullum especially would kind of work on them together to make sure that they're grammatically correct and stuff. So the other 2 guys would be the proper people to talk about that.
Sorry, Matt, let's rephrase it. So I meant like which song speaks to you the most? Let's make it a bit easier then.
For me, it was White Night. When Marco was writing it, he was sending in a pile of documentaries that he had been watching and researching about it. So being able to watch those documentaries and interviews with survivors, you kind of got to connect with how they were feeling during the situation. And it was a real eye-opener that things like this can happen, have happened, and probably will happen again.
Yeah, I'm gonna approach the way that I feel when I'm playing the tracks. And every time that I played, when Mark was writing the Night Hag song, I told him that that track should give me goosebumps every time that I listen to it, in terms of how he would approach the delivery of the lyrics. And I was playing today that track with the backing tracks that we have from the album, just practicing, and still playing that track. It gives me goosebumps, and it is a simple track. Guitar is very simple. It's a lot of elements that Renato created to us. That's the Brazilian maestro there, that he did that for us with all the elements, and the guitar harmony of the guitar is simple. I don't do anything hard. It's just a loop. It's 3 accords from the beginning to the end regards to the guitar, but the way that we approached that song, kind of slow and then progressing, and Marco did that. That's for me, that is one of the best tracks in the album. The album is not the best for me. I'm very between that and Sound of the Unknown.
Can you tell me a bit about the artwork of the album? Who is behind this artwork?
It's a guy. It's kind of not my friend, but it's a guy that I know in Brazil. Marcelo Vascos. He did our EP as well. The way that he approaches, we gave him all the lyrics, the concept of the album, the name of the album, and he just drew the art and sent it to us. And we liked the first one. I think we tried. The only thing that we wanted to change was the font of the name of the album. So he sent us a few samples with different fonts, but we liked the one that he sent first, and that's Marcelo is the guy who he's worked with Slayer creator. He's done all of the latest Slayer albums art, creator albums art. He did the Slayer backdrop for their farewell tour. So that's what Machine Head, you can name it. He's done a lot of work for those guys, and when he did for the EP, I spoke to him to see, because I already knew, and he's like, yeah, I'll do it. But he explained to us how he works. Like I usually don't take much in from you. You guys give me, and just let me free to create how I want to interpret. So I think he nailed the art. With the concept.
Beautiful.
Certainly, it's beautiful.
Very good, very good.
And yeah, that's what I can say about the art, because we were the mastermind behind it. We just gave the ideas, and he did it.
So you just got the present artwork from it's impressive that he worked with creator Slayer. And speaking about impressive names, you had Sepultura on board, basically. So I'm wondering, how did you do that?
That was Marco.
It's all Marco.
It's all Marco. So Marco, Renato, who did the maestro, who did also featured the Night Hag, all the orchestral arrangement, it was done by him. He's a close friend with Andreas. And we were talking about the album back in 2020. Then we were like, oh, it would be cool if Andreas would record the solo. We were just talking. Then Marco brought that up with Renato. Like, I can ask him. And we didn't know what was going to happen. But then it was Marco's birthday. And Andreas was in Renato's house. So Andreas asked for Renato's wife to record a video with the two of them sending happy birthday to Marco. And when he said that, he's like, oh, look, Marco, I'm going to give you the solo for one of the tracks. And it kind of worked well. It kind of worked time-wise, because when we were supposed to record the album, he didn't have time to record the solo. He said, like, I don't have time now, because they were with the Sepultura every Wednesday, live and bringing people in, so he didn't have time. But we had to postpone. Once we postponed, it's like, we're going to record there, and then it's like, oh, send the track and I'll do it. So first thing that we did in the studio, the way that we approached the recording was different from probably most of the bands. We recorded a few tracks, the drums, like 2 or 3 tracks, drums, then guitars, bass, and vocals. And then we moved on to another tracks doing that. We didn't record like the bands do, like drums first, bass, guitars, video guitars. So the first one, when we were in the studio, we have to record 2 tracks first. Why not that for Andreas to do the solo, and then I hag to send to Renato so he can create the harmony who he was gonna do, and then Andreas sent the solo on the last day, the very last day that we were in the studio.
Very last day we were recording.
We were in the studio. We were already back in Dublin, and then we just got that's the solo. Then I just sent you to Josh to replace the solo because I had recorded the solo because we weren't recording anymore. Or Josh was just tidy up the editing part. He just Josh, we have this Andreas solo, and he's like, yeah, cool, I replaced, and then that's how it happened.
Interesting story, and I'm wondering, did Andreas also react on the Nighthack album?
He hasn't said anything. He reacted to the track that he recorded. He has a radio show in São Paulo. He played our track in the radio show. He said that he was a guest in that track, and he played another track in that show as well. He hasn't reacted yet with the album, but we might be
busy.
Do something with in his radio show soon, hopefully.
Yeah, but like if he shared, I guess he was happy there. So and speaking about Sepultura, you have Brazilian roots. So I wonder, how did it shape your music?
Sepultura. I remember first album that I listened to, Arise, which is for me is their best album, and it was Sepultura is the biggest metal band from Brazil.
Yep.
Yeah.
They are well known. Even people who don't like metal, they sometimes say, "Oh yeah, Brazil, Sepultura."
Yes.
That's so.
Sepultura or Soulfly?
For me, it would be Sepultura. In terms of songs, it would be Sepultura because I like. Some people's gonna kill me now. I don't like Roots, the album Roots.
Okay.
And that's where Soulfly was just something. The first album, Soulfly, was a kind of mix of the Roots after Max left the band.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a fan of Roots. The album for me, their best albums are Beneath the Remains, Arise, Chaos AT. Those 3 are the best album. And Quadra now was a great surprise for me because I hadn't listened to it, but a lot of people were talking about it. I was like, I have to listen to that album. Then I went to listen. I was like, that's a nice album. They did the production on that album is just amazing. And yeah, for Sepultura, big influence with me in metal in general. I remember when I went to see them in '96, I think, or '97. Max was still in the band. That was one of the last shows.
I was 3.
And it was it's a great band and great influence. And when it's one thing in knowing that Andreas was going to record a solo, but we never knew he would have proper time to record the solo because I was like, yeah, fine. But when he sent the solo, I remember I was at my friend's house and I got a message and I was like, that's the solo. I was listening to the solo. I was like, okay. I was like getting goosebumps. I was like, fucking hell. Can't believe that he did it. But yeah, so.
I was actually at work when we got the solo. And as soon as the message came in, I listened to it and my hand went up. I was like, this is amazing. I'm so happy. Oh my God. And then as soon as that happened, a customer walked into the shop and just looked at me like I had 10 heads. Trying to explain to them that a metal legend were going to be on my album. They were just complete blank face, not understanding how much of a big deal it was.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And when I heard like that you worked with Andreas Kiss, I was like, what? An Irish band working with such a big band? I was like, did I read it correctly? I was rereading and I was like, yes, Sepultura working with therisendread. I think it's a really good collaboration because the music fits together, but it's also nice to put therisendread on the map because you have started like in 2018, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what were the challenges of creating a concept album in terms of, well, writing and making everything coherent. So you told us that you didn't do writing the most part, but I mean like everything. How did you get everything so coherent?
Matt,
Well, Will did most of the writing. To be 100% honest with you, 95% of all riffs on that album is 100% William. You see, we got very lucky as a band.